What's up, everybody? It's Lopez. Before the show gets started, I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Red Leg Custom Woodworks. If you guys know anybody who's an artilleryman, was an artilleryman, or is getting ready to get out, you want to get them a retirement gift, or just simply want to just show them some love and, with that artillery pride, check out Red Leg Custom Woodworks. He does great woodwork. This is straight wood, all right? Real wood. He puts it on that spin thing, does the whole carving bullshit, straight specific to the size of this is a 105, but he does 155s as well. Go check him out. He'll go ahead and fucking custom it for you. You guys want to put fucking rank on there, you want to put any kind of the unit crests, he can hook it up. All I'm saying is that I'm very happy with this right here, this 105 HE. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The video does not do it justice. Anyways, redlegcustomwoodworks.com, redlegcustomwoodworks.com. He's a red leg. He does customwoodworks.com. All right. Enjoy this episode. It was fucking badass. And yep. Catch y'all on the gun line. Gunline. Fire mission coming down. I'm your host, Lopez, and you're listening to the On the Gunline podcast, where we shoot the shit like we did in the past, out in the field and between the trails, under that net, or in the back of that gun, in the Paladin, if you were heavy and weren't real artillery. Yeah, I'm talking crap already, shooting it off. Today on the gun line, we have an NCO, a former NCO, I should say, when I was a private. And very, how can I put this? Very old school in the way he did things. Very, what an NCO was like, what it should have been like, what they should still be like. Definitely a man of God. Definitely a man of God. We never went on a mission without a prayer from him. And let's see what else. Definitely caused some controversy between Kowalczyk and our old co-host Cruz. And we're going to get to the age-old question of who was the best number one man. But with that said, I'm glad if you were in 277 Field Artillery between 04 and 07-ish, maybe, yep. You'll remember old Sergeant Charlie Chuck Landis. Welcome to the gun line, Sergeant Landis. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, God, I've been wanting to have you for a hot minute. And I was afraid to reach out to you. Like, how do I reach out to him, man? I mean, how do I ask him, because I know last I had heard you were like living out in the country, it just like, I don't know. I thought you were like off the grid, you know what I mean? And didn't want to be bothered.
Not off the grid, just not good cell service out here, but they got some 5G going on now, so I'm good.
Yeah, moving on up. So for those that don't know you, though, or those that want to catch up with you, tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from originally?
All right. About myself, of course, I'm Charlie Landis. Grew up in the great state of Ohio. Grew up on a dairy farm all my young life, and that's where I'm back again. But joined the Army when I was 20 years old. Just turned 20 when I hit basic.
Oh,
I think that's right. Yeah. And maybe that was 19. Huh.
Oh, they just catching up to you.
Yeah. That was in 2002, February. So, right. Yeah. That would have been 20 years. I would have been in basic training right now 20 years ago.
Holy shit. So dude, you came in right after 9/11 then. Did that have anything to do with your choice?
Yeah, that was part of my choice. I was here working on the farm at the time. I can remember where I was, like most people, when that happened and everything. And I was out in the fields that day, and just crazy. I thought about it right then, and then I heard about all the crazy long lines at the recruiting stations, and I held back on it. And it wasn't until later on, so that was September 11th, and then by January, late December, I was making my decision. That's what I wanted to do. Just was having trouble finding what I wanted to do in life. I'd gone to college, it dropped out. And my dad mentioned it to me because I had a buddy that was going to the Air Force. And then he never even went then. But I I went to the recruiting station, and all the branches were there. I'm looking, it's like, no, those Marines are just plain crazy. They
Right.
want to do that. Air Force, I already had that, mentality of they're the cheer force.
Right.
In Navy, there's like, ain't no way I'm sticking myself on a boat that long. Ain't happening. So I was like, I'm going to the Army.
Right. No,
So,
man. So did you have any family that served prior to the military or any military influence as you were growing up?
no real influence growing up. It was always patriotic. My
Okay.
grandpa was drafted. Actually, he volunteered during the Korean War
Mhm.
because it was a thing where if you volunteer, more likely you get a stateside mission. And he
Okay.
worked for the code office in Chicago during that time,
Nice.
and writing code and stuff like that. It was clerk. Didn't talk about much because it was just such a short time of his life and everything. Knew some older guys there's a guy that I knew that was a Marine during World War II that I helped farm. My dad helped him farm and was around him. And so that was, I guess that would have been an influence at the time, but
Okay.
nobody specific in my family
Nobody in
that
the immediate family, like uncles or dad or
nope,
thing. Right on.
no,
So everybody's just strictly farming, dairy farm. Right
yep.
on. So you go to the recruiting station, you sign up for the Army. How did they dupe you to be in the 13 Bravo?
Oh, dude. Yeah, I went to MEPS and everything, and I had a pretty good score on my ASVAB, and there was a lot that was open. Of course, not everything was open that was I qualified for, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just going through my options. I was young too, and there was a big bonus with it, and
Yeah.
what sold me was the career counselor was a 13 Bravo.
Nice.
And slots need to be filled, and he sold it to me on it. It sounded exciting and everything, and he didn't lie about it. When
Right.
I came and done it was everything he had told me.
Just he made it sound really good and fun.
Got me really excited and everything. He didn't lie about it one bit, but he made it sound really exciting.
You know,
So,
a lot of the people that I speak with, it's usually the video that'll do it. They had like a video. I remember when I first saw it because I wanted to be a tanker, and
right?
and they were like, "No, that's closed." So they end up showing me the video. I see the paladin. Say no more. I'll take it. I didn't know there was a light side to artillery, until after.
If I would have known about the light side, I would have went that all the way.
Oh yeah.
I definitely would have went that. Kind of what formed that a little bit was I honored my dad some. He made some requests to me when I went down to MEPS, and he didn't want me to be a scout. He said, "Don't be a scout." He just knew with her life expectancy in Vietnam and stuff was not good and everything. So he's like, "Don't be a forward observer or a scout." Okay. Infantry, hey, don't be a bullet catcher.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I really want to be a tanker. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a tanker, and he didn't want me hop in a tin can and get shot at. So I hopped in another tin can.
There you go. Well, that's a little bit further away.
But I look back at times and like, man, what if I would have done something else different? And I was like, no, I wouldn't have, because I loved what I did and all the guys I was with.
Yep.
I wouldn't trade that for anything. If you say, hey, you can go back in time and make a different choice at your MOS, I'd still go 13 Bravo.
Yep. Same here. There's something about being an artilleryman. We took pride in being that,
Oh, yeah.
It's like we were the bastard children and we knew it because we
Yes,
could do everybody else's job, but they couldn't do ours,
Oh, you're still the king of battle, right?
Goddamn right. Yes, sir. That hasn't changed yet. I don't know, man. I don't know. The king, it could be now a little too microaggressionish.
Yeah,
but we are the king. Yes, sir. That's awesome. So when you went through basic training, tell me about it. Was it everything you thought it would be? Was it easier than you thought? Did you think it was going to be like Full Metal Jacket, the movie that we all grew up on, or?
Right. I saw Full Metal Jacket before I left. And then actually I saw Black Hawk Down, like, I think a week before I went to basic training. And that's when my dad looked over at me. He went to the movies with me. He said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" But I had a good friend of mine from high school. He's 2 years ahead of me. We played football together. He had told me he'd already been in. He was a cavalry scout, and he told me, he said, "If you can take your old man yelling at you and 2-day football practices, you'll be fine." So, I mean, I came in with an open mind and eyes wide open, knowing that I don't know what to expect, but at the same time, I can take somebody yelling at me, you know. So I went to Fort Sill, first of the 40th, and got there in February.
Oh, cold.
Did OSIT training and left in June. I think it was, yeah. So we went from cold to the crazy wind, tornado warnings, to it was like 90 degrees in June. So it was just like, I remember one of our first runs, we all got back, our canteens were actually frozen shut.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was like super cold.
Oh, fuck. Dude, so any did you stand out in basic training, or were you one of those that laid under the radar and just coasted through?
I tried to lay under the radar because I was told to do that.
Right.
You know, just do your job. But I guess with doing your job and always wanting to excel, I kind of stood out towards the end. So I became one of the squad leaders or section leaders. And that at the, I say probably the last like 5 weeks or so.
Awesome. Good shit. I mean, and you know what sucks nowadays, and even back then when I was coming in as a private, that if you did your job and wanted to do better, you know, you were looked at like, oh, that guy's an ass kisser, or oh, that guy. But you know, there's a difference between somebody that does their shit and Wilson. For those that don't know, Wilson used to be a person who kissed ass just to kiss ass, or rat face fuck, as Kowalski called him. So, you know, there was a difference between those two. And I'm sure we'll talk about him later as well. So, but I mean, that's awesome. So you graduated basic training, and your first duty station was where to?
It was Fort Hood.
Oh, so that was your first and only?
And I got to choose Fort Hood also. I was the reason I chose it was I was into rodeo. I rode bulls and stuff in high school. So I did all that. I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna go to Texas. You know, I actually ended up before a deployment, my first deployment, ended up riding the Fort Hood rodeo. They used to have a 4th ID and 1st Cav rodeo.
Yeah. No shit.
Rode in that, so that was cool. Did some other stuff over towards Belton riding, but at the same time, it's like, well, that was a stupid choice because I can't get hurt and be in the Army at the same time. So
right.
I did get beat up a little bit and showed up at formation kind of limping along, but you know.
So, damn. So you wanted to stay. Well, you chose Fort Hood. I know.
Yeah.
I chose Germany is what I wanted, and then I chose like Hawaii. Of course, all the glory ones. You know,
Germany was my second choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything that I wanted. I ended up in Fort Hood, and but when you got, what was your first unit? What was it? 316.
316. Yeah.
All right.
So, yep. 316.
Tell me about that. What was it like when you first got there?
Oh man, that was so when I got there, that unit had just got back. I don't know if it was 6 months before that. They were fighting fires in Idaho.
Okay.
So they were pretty tight group. They were a pretty tight group. It was kind of old school, I think, when I got there.
Speaking of old school, let me take it back a bit, back to basic training.
Okay.
Did you get smoked a lot by the drill sergeants, or was there like a lot of
We got smoked all the time.
Any specific reasons for it?
Specific reasons?
You woke up?
Yeah, they just made reasons up, you know.
Right.
I mean, they would smoke us in the middle of the night. So yeah, that was life.
Right. And you know, there was no complaining about it. I think it was just expected, you know.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I mean, I don't know. I trip out, like I look at it nowadays about how folks, but I think every generation says that about the previous generation
Right.
going through.
we thought the drill sergeants actually talked to us about when they were in basic training and stuff, where drill sergeants knocked over lockers and they ground their heel in people's knuckles while they were in the fleeing rest.
Shit.
You don't know how much of that's embellished or
Right.
what, but I'm sure it was harder than ours.
Pretty much. Do you have any drill sergeant that stands out that you remember the most?
Oh, I remember. I mean, the three we had was Drill Sergeant Burke, Drill Sergeant Dinger, and Drill Sergeant Ware. And yeah, they all had their own things that they stood out. But
I see they must have made an impact on you though, if you remember their names to this date,
Their names, man. Yeah, the one Burke, he had broke his arm doing the obstacle course with us.
Oh,
like
damn.
he was gung-ho and broke his arm or his leg. I forget which, but he broke something.
Shit.
So he's out for a while.
God damn. So you get to 316. They're coming back from fighting fires. This was in June 2002, right?
Yep.
So how soon after you got there did you guys get orders to hey, guess what? You guys are on your way to Iraq.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day, 2003.
Wow, that's January 2003.
January 2003, we got our orders.
Now, were there rumors or anything like that going around that you might be going?
There was some rumors, but we were actually previously 4th ID was assigned to towards like the Korean theater.
Okay.
We were, what was that? FBCB2. We were the testing. We were all the digital.
Right.
Stuff. So they were kind of a testing division
for the digital stuff.
Yep. And then right after I got there, we made our switch to Southeast Asia, and yeah. So then we popped up on orders.
Oh, shit. How did that feel? Like, did shit get real right there?
It was, yeah, it did.
You remember your exact thoughts, like, all right, fellas, because I remember, like, I still remember my exact emotion of when we were supposed to leave on a Sunday or a Monday, but we ended up leaving on a Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember exactly, but I just remember Sergeant Warrior saying, "Hey, get your shit. We're leaving today, not tomorrow." Right. Like, what? Okay. So
with mine, it was I was advanced party.
Oh, okay.
So I was supposed to fly in to we were supposed to go through Turkey.
Okay.
And Turkey kept giving us the runaround and everything. I had friends that were stuck out on ships out there for a month or so. So they rerouted everybody down to Kuwait.
Okay.
But I was on 24-hour recall for a whole month.
Oh, shit. So
there was no PT. There was you did it on your own. Mm-hmm. It was like we had the bags packed, everything ready. All I had in my room was an alarm clock, a Bible that somebody gave me. I started reading it a whole lot then. That's my journey back to God.
Oh, really?
Because it was just, think about it. You're young, 21 years old, and you're going to war. And there was a whole lot of waiting. Mm-hmm. So I did a whole lot of reading at that time. Wow. But by the time I got there, I mean, I think it was Joshua 1:9 was the verse about being strong and courageous. I'll be with you wherever you may go. Was a theme that just kept popping up to me. I think by the time we went, it's like, okay,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So who was your chief?
That was Tank.
So he was your chief from day one?
Well, he was. So my first chief was Staff Sergeant Cockrell. I don't know if you ever met him.
I don't think so.
Okay. He was a hard charger. I mean, he didn't let you slack at all.
Okay.
He was a crazy but good chief. Mm-hmm. Then Taylor came. Then Sergeant Johnson got back from I think it was the Q course.
Oh, okay.
And they fit him back into the unit. And since Sergeant Taylor was, I think he was E5 promotable at the time, and they made him the gunner, and Sergeant Johnson was. But about halfway through our deployment, Sergeant Johnson took another assignment, and Tank was our chief then.
So was he always the same way that he was?
Dude, he's still the same guy, man. Always. You could count on that.
God damn. I mean, I got to work under him when I got to the unit, and but you had bumped up to who were you working for at that time? Weimar or?
Yeah, Weimar. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, so you deployed with Tank and him. Y'all got to Kuwait, right?
Yeah.
So what was it like when y'all crossed over from Kuwait to Iraq? Do you remember that?
Well, first I was in Kuwait before everybody else on advanced party.
Right.
And we were supposed to unload Paladins and ammo carriers off the ships. Dude, we got to unload everything. Bradley's tanks. We hopped in and just drove them.
Yep.
One day I'm in a Bradley fighting vehicle driving down and made a wrong turn at the port, and next thing I know, I'm at this gate with all these Kuwaiti guards and stuff. Like I was heading downtown by accident, so I had to turn around and go back. But that was crazy. I was there when Saddam sent Scud missiles down there, so we had actual gas.
Oh fuck,
dude! I was in a tent because we were working the night shift to unload, and it was in the middle of the day and just hot as can be. And the alarm said, and everybody's saying gas. So, start throwing stuff on. And I remember going under the bunker and looking down at my hands. I forgot to put my gloves on. They're under my cot. So I'm running in there to grab those on, put them on real quick. It was crazy. And they hit some Scud missiles at some mall nearby. No gas or anything, but definitely was a wake-up call.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, this shit's real now. I mean, you're used to simulators and stuff, but now it's the real thing. They're trying to take you out,
Exactly.
Like for me, my first like real moment of like this shit's real was when we got to Kuwait on your second employment, my first, and they gave us our first combat load, our 210 rounds, and they were like, all right, start filling your magazines up. This is it. Like, fuck, this is getting real.
This is real.
So did you guys drive into guns, or did y'all take them on through Hets?
We were on Hets.
Okay.
So I remember crossing the berm and everything. I think it was the same day that Bush landed on the aircraft carrier and said it was the end of all combat operations. Or not combat. Yeah, I don't know. I forget what he said.
The mission accomplished.
I remember. Dude, we're late. We missed the fight. No, we didn't miss the fight. It was still there. But we headed up to a drop-off point, and a couple of the platoon sergeants and gun chiefs were at that same location during Desert Storm.
That was going to be my next question.
I think maybe they were Big Red 1, and they were on the way to Baghdad. They could see the lights of Baghdad, south of Baghdad, when they got the orders to turn around.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how many combat tested NCOs that you have when you were coming in? Like, I mean, from the Desert Storm era.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think there was 3 of them in our battery.
Okay. Damn, that's not very many, but at least that's more than one.
Yeah. So, we set up perimeter that night. And I remember being on fire watch that night, walking the perimeter thinking, dude, this is real, because you see some tracer fire here and there in the air. And it's like, this is the real stuff. And I'm thinking, it's pitch dark when we got there. We had no clue where we were. Yeah.
Oh man.
So then we took a road march driving the Paladins. I was a driver at the time.
Okay.
Up through Baghdad, up to Bakuba is where we end up going, which was, I think, end up being Camp Warhorse later on.
Okay. So that's where you guys ended up occupying and.
Yeah, for a moment, and then we went over east towards Iran to Muqaddam, the Mook. And that was an old RFK or RPK, I forget the little group that was they were anti-Iran group,
Mm-hmm.
and Saddam kind of let them take that area because
Gotcha.
after Desert Storm, he had lost so many troops. So we end up the infantry unit with our brigade ended up taking that compound, and we were there for a while, and then we were back at FOB Warhorse too. We kind of flipped back and forth, and we
Okay.
shot a lot of fire missions, man.
I was about to ask you, that was my next question. So, okay, during that time though, you were out there at Warhorse. When I got to the unit in 05 in March, how many of those NCOs or soldiers that were there when I got there were there with you in 316?
So 316, when we got back, that's when they stood up 4th Brigade.
Okay.
And they chose like one platoon worth of guys to go over to set up 277. And at that time, I was already in another section, but Tank, Sergeant Taylor, made a little switch and got me back into his section so that I could go over with them. So it was Tank, myself, I just became a sergeant.
Okay.
Natividad just became sergeant. Sergeant Jenkins, was he there?
Who?
Jenkins?
Yep.
So he came. First Sergeant Brenton.
Oh, yeah. It's the man.
Captain Wallace.
I didn't meet him.
Okay, you didn't. Okay, Captain Wallace. That changed before you got there. But trying to think. Sergeant Stevenson, was he there?
No,
I
recall. There was only one Stevenson I remember.
I can't remember all who went with us then.
But yeah, I mean it's crazy, like thinking about it now. Like, you know, Natividad, first sergeant now, back at 277. That was like that's full circle right there, you know? That's awesome.
When was that? Was that last year or the year before? They broke down on their way to
Hood. I mean, not to Carson, right?
Yeah. So I was like 3 hours away and helped him get his alternator going, which broke down later. But
that's what's up, though. That's what's up. I mean, it's crazy, man.
That's pretty cool. That was the first time I saw him since I left in 07.
Have you kept in touch with anybody from the Army since those days?
Yeah, I've in the last few years I've talked to some folks. Kowalczyk through some text, and then Hunt. Talked to him. It's been over a year now since I talked to him, I think. Yeah, it's been over a year.
Yeah, like Hunt and Kowalczyk, we're every day we're talking.
Yep. Hunt, Kowalczyk, Moyer.
Old man.
I talked to him last year. Talked to Bash a little bit through some text, because come find out later, he went back into the Army and he was living down in the same town I was.
Oh, really? No way.
Tried to hook up before he left and it didn't work out. But yeah. When I was a recruiter, I was a recruiter down at the Newark recruiting station in Ohio, and Bash's picture is still up on the wall from
no shit. Yeah. Wait, so you went recruiting after we got back then?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I thought you ETS.
I did ETS.
No, I thought you ETS right after we got back.
I did.
Oh, you came back in?
I came back in.
Oh.
Through the IRR on ADOS orders, volunteered because I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Right.
Still don't know, I guess.
We'll circle back to this in a second, if you don't mind. Okay. We'll come. Let's talk to me about the fire missions. Like, you know, now you're not in the field anymore. You're shooting for real. Like,
we were actually the first howitzer in 4th ID to shoot a combat HE mission.
Oh, shit.
Or anything, an actual combat HE mission since Vietnam War.
Really? Damn.
That was our gun.
That's what's up. All animosity.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you, I still remember that first fire mission because we had actually it wasn't even that, we didn't even shoot that. There wasn't a fire mission, but we got hit with mortars. First time. You know, we're all green. And mortars start popping around everywhere. we didn't even know what to do really, because it's like you stay in the gun, and we all got outside, got low and everything. Tank's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be in the gun.
For real.
Find out later that 60 millimeter mortar hitting the gun's really nothing. It just puts a mark on it.
Well,
it's not going to penetrate. So we stayed in the gun after that. But I remember, so locking and loading, laying down in the prone, we're thinking, hey, we're under attack.
mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, it's, they're in the back of a pickup truck with a mortar, just lobbing them at us,
Right.
and they're gone. But we went ahead. We weren't even set up for fire mission or anything. And Tank, luckily, he was a light fighter.
Yeah.
He laid us off of stars.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
We got laid, ready, and called up to brigade that we were ready to fire back. But I remember being so nervous. I was a driver at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You got to rev that engine for those hydraulics and everything. And my foot, I was so nervous, was going like this the whole time. I couldn't hold it steady.
Oh, shit.
My nerves were just going nuts. I mean, I couldn't even keep my foot straight.
Yeah.
And it was just like revving the whole time, up and down. Wah, wah, wah. And I actually ended up holding my leg to hold down on the throttle. And it's like, okay, I got this now. So we were all set up and laid on the azimuth and was ready to shoot. So that was pretty cool that he was able to do that. That's just got there that day, and survey came out yet to set us up.
They hadn't dropped survey. There were no circles.
Nothing.
So wow.
So Tank laid us off of constellations.
That's fucking badass. Oh, Polaris Kochab. Damn.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
That's one thing I'll tell you about. I went eventually into light artillery after Fort Stewart. That was back in 2010. 2011, I went back to Fort Carson, or I went to Fort Carson, and it was 277. I got excited.
Yep.
I got excited as hell because I'm like, oh, hell yeah, it's a mechanized unit. I know my Paladin. It's all I've been on, right? Oh, I got the gunny job. I got this shit. I get there, it's a fucking 119er unit. I'm like, oh, fuck me running. And that's when I found out I knew nothing about artillery. But that's another story. So you guys got all those missions. How many rounds do you think you guys shot during your time out there?
I don't remember now. I don't remember how many rounds we shot, but we shot a lot of loom rounds.
Mm-hmm.
We did some weird missions. I mean, we shot at locations where they were shooting mortars.
Mm-hmm.
I had one location where we shot and we weren't hitting our target because they were in a swamp. So HEPD just went right down and everything went off.
Wow, what the fuck?
The time fuse, so it would air burst, and we had confirmed kills off of that.
Nice.
So
yeah, you gotta set that fucking time on it now.
We also had a weapons cache that we shot, and it was a close. I mean, it was, man, I think it was like 3 green bag or something like that. It was close by. And when we fired, they told us it was going to be close by. Mm-hmm. And instead of, I guess, using the engineers to come in and blow up the weapons, they said, hey, rain artillery down on it. So that's what we did. We could see it on the tree line. You could see just all the sparks and the ammo going off and everything. So that was pretty cool.
Must have been a hell of a high angle, too, on that.
It was. It was. We did some missions for the stealth bomber.
No shit.
The bomber would come through and drop flares and light up all 3 corners.
Mm-hmm.
And we would fire a fire mission at a time. It was time with them flying in, throwing their flares, and we would shoot a fire mission. And I'm pretty sure it was a loom round too. It might have been, I think it was a loom round that we shot. And it was just a show of force type thing. Say, hey, we're here. Right. The crazy thing about it was when they flew over, there was a couple times they flew over and they dropped their flares. We had a canister fall about 5 feet in front of our gun.
Oh, shit.
I'm sitting on the top of the gun and I hear a thud. Went out there and sure enough, here one of the canisters from the flare. It's like,
oh,
that's close.
Yeah, it is. Holy shit. How long was that deployment for?
I was actually there like 369 days, 68
Okay,
days.
so just over a year then.
Yeah. But see, we were told it could be like 4 months or 6 months or seven. It was like every month was like, hey, we're going home in 2 weeks.
Right.
Hey, no, we're not.
Get your hopes up.
So just think of that close call with that canister. I got that. That's because it was a close call. I was on top of it was at night. We had the perimeter there, and then there was an MP in the center, an MP company in the center of the fob, and they had a fighting position with a 50 cal and I don't know what else they had at their location. And we always joke like, what are they going to shoot at? Because we're all out here,
Right.
overran or something. But one night we got attacked at the fence line, which is probably about a click away from us, and they shot some mortars. I was getting ready to hop on the Mark 19 and let some rip, and the next thing I hear is, doo, 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 doo. And I could feel stuff flying by me.
Oh, okay.
I was on top of the Paladin, and I fell flat to the ground, all the way off the top.
Oh shit!
Those bastards were shooting right across my position. 50 cal.
Yeah. Oh my god. That'd be some fratricide like a motherfucker.
Yeah. Smoke Castro, he lit into them the next day. That fighting position was gone.
So was it the MPs that did that shit?
MPs, man.
Fucking MPs.
They didn't even know their field of fire.
I mean, that's why we have fucking cards, right? The little range cards.
Yeah.
God damn. Good night. You almost became a motherfucking green on green or blue on blue. What the fuck they call that shit nowadays? Dude, that's fucking crazy. So Tank takes over the section. You guys are over there firing. Let's see. Y'all also had some good times out there on that fob, though, right? Like there was some good downtime.
Oh yeah. We did some crazy stuff, man.
Anything you could talk about?
Well, when we moved back over to Mukadaya, right behind us was a ammo bunker.
Okay.
It had a bunch of propellant in it. So me and Martinez's whole we had to burn our own trash. So there was an old fighting position nearby. We just piled trash in there. And then we took all the propellant and we cut them open, sprinkled the pellets everywhere, packed it up underneath then we took bags and packed it underneath the trash, and we lit us a little line. And in the inside, the core of their propellant were these sticks that were they looked like a giant incense stick.
Okay.
You could light them and they were like a fuse almost.
Right.
It was the core of it. And we would light those to light on and watch the trash blow up in there and everything like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I mean, I've seen propellant, get burned. We go burn bags. That's a hell of a fucking flame.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
Badass, dude. That's what other things.
Was pretty cool.
What did you do to? Now this was in the initial invasion, right? So that y'all went in. What form of communications that y'all have back then? Like to call back home.
It was totally different from when we went.
Right.
So at first, sat phone. Sergeant Major had a sat phone, and you usually had, I don't know the time. I think it was once a month you had 5-minute call. Well, I'll tell you what. To get a 5-minute call off, you had to dial the number to the calling card. Remember those calling cards you would have that put in your code and everything, wait for somebody to pick up, and you got like a minute left.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, so they don't give you the 5 minutes from when you start talking. It's from when you get the phone.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking crazy. God.
So we had that, and some locations you would go to would have like a phone booth, trailer, or something like that that you could use. Later on the deployment, we had some phones and email, but it was mainly letters.
Okay.
And Beth, who I'm married to now, my high school sweetheart, we got back together like 3 weeks before I left. We started talking again on the phone.
Okay.
And we started writing letters. She would write me like 1 or 2 letters a day. My mom and dad they would take turns writing me 1 letter. It would be like, sometimes it'd be from dad, it'd be like 2 lines, like, hey, this is what's going on today on the farm.
Yeah.
Love, be safe. Here's a can of snuff. And send that over. So we would get our mail, like sometimes it would go weeks at a time, sometimes a month.
Mm-hmm.
I had times where they brought a whole mail bag and set it in my tent.
Oh shit, just for you, huh?
Like, here's a letter and here's a letter. And I had this like huge mail bag of all these letters.
That's fucked up.
Threw them all and put them in their dates and everything so I could read them in order. And yeah, and I get care packages to share with everybody. Right. So
do you still have copies of those letters? You still hold on to them? I got
all boxed up. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
dude.
So.
My wife's grandfather was a Korean War vet. And after his wife passed, they found some letters that he would write to her, to his wife, right? Yeah. They were married like almost 70 years. So,
okay.
So I mean, and to read the letters, man, we think all these old timers were very, very prude and not as sexual. Some of those were like X-rated, man.
Well, me and my wife have joked about that. We're like, maybe we should do something with the letters before we pass away, so our kids don't get into them. Be like, whoa, mom and dad.
Right. Well, what was crazy too is like, some of the letters were graphic as well as like, the stuff that he had seen out there. And it just like, it's crazy. Like he never talked about it with his children about what he saw in Korea. And that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of the Korean War vets, we really don't hear much about them versus like with the World War II or Vietnam. These guys are like the forgotten generation.
And they went through it, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you study a little bit of that war, just like up in the Chosin Reservoir and places like that, it was rough.
Yeah, he was telling me some of the things. Apparently, he never talked to his family about it too much, but for some reason, he felt a kinship with me, I guess. Right. So we shot it up for a while. He was telling me like my favorite story that he told me was because they had just integrated the army, right? So I guess one of the sergeants out there when he was in training was a black dude, and he had like a silver star or something. And they were all impressed, like, oh wow, he's got a silver star, and they asked him, how'd you get that silver star? He's like, well, if you read the report, it says that with valor, I jumped into an armored vehicle or a truck full of ammunitions and drove it to a certain location so it wouldn't get shot or something. But the real story is they were shooting at us. I was trying to get the hell out of there. So I jumped in that truck and moved it. So yeah, dude, it just like stories like that trips me out. And he ended up getting the silver star for that because they said it was like, a heroic action that he had done. The motherfucker was actually just trying to hide out. So I don't blame him though. But dude, it's crazy. Like I don't remember having any letters writing out, like handwritten, hand jammed. And that's cool that you guys got to experience that too. You know what I mean? It just
that was a totally different from that first deployment.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, man. And dude, it was kind of sad too, because I saw guys that were married that they'd get a letter maybe once or twice. Dude, there's some guys that went through some rough times, man. You really found, there's some divorces and stuff afterwards.
That's a good call out right there. When you got back from your deployment, from that deployment, what was the reception like? Like, were there any fears in your head of, was it going to be like it was the old Vietnam receptions, or what did you guys think?
Oh no, we had a great reception. Any airport we went through, I think we went through Bangor, Maine, and they had a bunch of vets that were there that were congratulating us. And then when we got to clean, I remember the wives of course, were all happy to see us and everything. And kind of a little different for me. I went over single. Okay. I came back married. Kind of hard to understand, huh?
Block leave?
I went on mid-tour leave, and me and Beth got married then.
Ah, right on. Hell yeah.
So she was there waiting for me and stuff. So they had a huge reception. We went into a gym, and they had like the fog going and everything when we all came in, went into formation, and then they released us. And I don't know what they did when we got back with that tour when I went with you, but our first one, they had a huge like party there at Fort Hood. I mean, concerts and food vendors, and I remember it was like free beer. It was like everybody could get a ticket, like each person got like 3 tickets or something like that.
Damn.
It was a concert, and it was pretty big.
Yeah, they didn't do that when we got back.
No.
Yeah, when we got back, I really don't even.
It was like this is routine.
Right.
We're just this is life now. We're on deployment.
Yep. So when you got back, you were Buck Sergeant, and you came to 277 to help stand that up. And now you see all these cherry privates coming in. And what were your initial thoughts as you saw these new privates? You know, now you're a veteran, combat experienced veteran. You know, you were just those privates, you know, a year or two prior. What were your thoughts, your initial thoughts seeing them come in?
Initial thoughts was like, how are we going to do this? We hardly had any NCOs, and we had all new privates. So when I first came in, I got to my section, and there was usually like a couple E4s, PFCs, private, a sergeant. So the chief really didn't have to do a whole lot on getting that new soldier acclimated to the unit. You know, the soldiers did. You know, they've been there. So he would assign tasks for them to do and everything. So you would know where places were on base. And with us, it was a bunch of buck sergeants, really. I remember me and the Dad, and we're like, and then Juarez came, and we're all sergeants that have what 8 to 10 sometimes privates.
Right.
Oh, having to babysit and show them what to do on everything. It was crazy. But in retrospect, I think that really made our unit pretty tight, because you guys, most of you went through basic together, or at least during the same time. And all the training up to that point, that year's worth of training before we deployed, was all together. It wasn't fragmented or anything. Right. So I think it made us a pretty tight group.
You know, anybody I've spoke with from our old unit, we have nothing but the utmost respect and hold all the NCOs we had there in high regard, because we believe that y'all set the path for us, especially when some of us weren't the greatest fucking soldiers. I wasn't a shitbag. Let me get that clear.
No,
but
you weren't.
I was a fucking idiot knucklehead at times. And I got my ass dusted off more than once for it. But no, I mean, like, you know, I think we were set up for success from the get-go. Our first sergeant was First Sergeant Brenton. To me, that set the standard, the epitome of what a first sergeant was supposed to be.
Well, he set the standard for all NCOs. So I remember he instituted a thing where all the new NCOs would come in and cite the NCO creed together. I think we did it like once a month too. We would all cite the NCO creed. And I still remember this day where he talked with me and the Natividad. And he told us right up, he says, you guys are sergeants now, and you won't know everything. You won't know everything you need to know yet, but everybody expects you to. You have to be on your game. And I just remember that. It's like, you know, so we studied and we kept, you know, pushing forward, man.
That's great advice too, because it's so true. You know, when I became a buck sergeant, I didn't know it all.
Yeah, you think coming to that point, you've done the boards, you studied, you know, you got your experience, you sat in the chief seat before in training and everything. I got this. Yeah. Then you get up there, it's like, dang, I don't got this.
It's humbling.
But everybody looks at you as you're an expert.
Right.
You're a leader.
Yeah. You're so right on that, man. It's like right spot on. You're expected to be the subject matter expert, you know, and there's some people that we know shouldn't have had stripes at all. You know, and I say his name every time. It was the first NCO interaction that I had up there. He was the most garbage piece of shit, stripe wearing Sergeant Roycroft. Hated that guy. Hot garbage. He was always complaining about PJ, saying that I should be the gunner. PJ's only in there because he's black and Tank is black and I'm white. And oh yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, he didn't recognize that he was a piece of shit. You know, he was the first IED killer. He was telling me stories like that. Okay, guy. Anyways, he was hot garbage. The reason I hate him the most was because when I needed a vehicle, he took me to a place to go get a car off post, where apparently he would get paid X amount if I bought a car. So, yeah, he made money off of me, and I bought a piece of shit Galant that still to this day is in the Fort Hood area. So my brother drives it out there. So
That's awesome.
But yeah, man. I mean, so let's see. We ended up you guys getting stacked up with new staff sergeants now coming in. So we got to start preparing. I didn't get there till I got there in March of 05.
Okay.
The sections were getting already, we're pretty much set up. And I got lucky. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think I got lucky because I went to my first unit had the best first sergeant, the best smoke, and I ended up with the best chief. You know what I mean? So because Smoke Norwood, I'm not gonna say that, he might not be the brightest man, in the world of knowledge, of just general knowledge. But when it came down to artillery and soldiering, that man, he knew how to do that shit, like the back of his hand was artillery. And I love that. And with Tank, he firm but fair.
Oh yeah.
So I got lucky with that. And we had to find a NCOs. Go ahead.
They both could be real with you too.
Yep. I still got a little bit of not hatred, but a little bit of disappointment. Sergeant Taylor, you chose Bricker over me to go to Falcon. It's all good though. It's all good. I did my thing on the roads. I mean, it was awesome shit. So we ended up training. You ended up working with Weimert. How did that go? Like, now you're in the gunner slot. You're getting these new soldiers.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. At first, I was kind of ticked off because I've been filling that chief position, and I've been running the section, and up shows the staff sergeant, and he's the chief now. It's like, dude,
right?
Had to be humbled.
Rank had its privileges, right?
Yep, it sure did. So Weimar was good. I think I've texted him or messaged him or something a couple times in the past few years. But
yeah, he's recently retired. He lives out in Killeen.
Yeah, I know he lives out there. Does he still have the pet shop? Or
I know he was working there. He's doing some kind of like witch's closet or something like that, some kind of like pagan stuff. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, hey,
me and old Cruz used to give him a hard time on that
stuff. Okay, now you got to give me some. What kind of shit y'all used to give him?
He would always give him a hard time because he was into the Wicca stuff, and of course, I'm a Christian. I think, hey, there's only one way, and that's Jesus Christ. And Cruz would always be, what, you praying to the trees and the chipmunks? I mean, what are you doing there, Chief? But it was all in fun and everything. I mean, we could be real with each other.
Thank you. And that is the reason I call this podcast On the Gun Line, because that was the place where we can be real, talk shit. It was not a place for thin skin, definitely not a place for thin skin.
Yeah.
So when you got there, you were the gunner. You had Weimert as your chief. Who was the driver?
Oh man, who was the driver at the time?
Was it Diaz?
It was Diaz.
Okay. So who was your number one man at the time?
See, this is where it gets a little fuzzy if it was Cruz or if it was Kowalczyk. Because Weimert, I think he flipped those two in and out. Diaz was always our driver. He was always the driver.
Right. Yeah. And then, can't trust him doing anything. He might fall asleep standing up. So
yeah. And then Hunt was ammo chief. I remember him always being a little salty about that.
Really?
Yeah, he always seemed a little salty about that, but I always had utmost respect for him, man. I like the guy.
Well, he was probably salty because he came from the light artillery,
Yeah, they had to
and he
come
got
with
put
all
as the
the
ammo
heavy
team chief.
guys. Yeah.
He wanted that
Yes.
gunner slot.
Yep. And then who else was over? Holguin was over there, and they had Qualzick and Cruz that would flip in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
See, because I know
I
Kowalczyk
don't know
said,
who.
according to Kowalczyk said he was
Yeah,
the first number one man.
I think he was.
All right, and then Weimert switched him and threw him in the cat.
Okay. Yeah, yes, and then we had Kowalczyk was a number one man, and we were doing one of our first field problems, and they came down and they killed all the chiefs, so all the gunners had to take the chief position, and maybe that's when Cruz was the number one, so he was then the gunner, and Kowalczyk came over as the number one man, and he was still a heck of a number one man. And I remember we had to roll back. We were doing degraded ops.
Oh shit! Okay.
And I'm like hard charging and stuff, and trying to impress, and I remember messing up, and I think Kowalczyk was running out to set up the collimator.
Okay.
And I just ripped him one. Get back in here, just cussing him up and down and everything. And dude was doing the right thing. I was wrong. And after that, that's when Kowalczyk's like, yeah, Jesus don't come to the field, Sergeant Landis.
He still says that to this day. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Because he does mention that, like, there was this one time someone that just cussed the shit out of me. Oh my, and I was doing the right thing.
Oh, he was right all the way. I was wrong. Yeah.
Oh,
I still remember that. Yep.
Good fucking time, man.
I'll tell you what. I hated being away from my wife. Mm-hmm. I did. But I loved the field. I loved it, man. I mean,
it was the only time we got to do our job.
Yep. Got to do our job. Yeah. We'd be stupid, but still do our job. And
the awesomeness is that while we were out in the field, that's where we really started bonding together, really becoming a unit, a family, solid unit, and I remember eventually we got Roycroft fired. He ended up going somewhere, maybe to ammo, I don't know. Fuck him. But it was me, Holguin, and McConnell in the cat. Yeah. And then the gun, it was Bricker, PJ, Bash, and Tank.
Yeah.
So there was this one time when Bricker, we were doing direct fire. We're gonna go to the direct fire range and do Killer Juniors and direct fire, and Bricker got all like itchy or allergic to the CVCs, so they ended up taking him out, and I got to go into the number one man slot. I'm good. I will never say I was the greatest number one man. I will never put myself in that, because not this guy. I enjoyed doing it. I had fun doing it. But one thing I could not do worth a lick was cut charges. And we're cutting charges. And when I tried to spin it back, they all collapsed and fell down.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tank's looking at me like, what the fuck, motherfucker? Oh, man. So I'm trying to put it all back together, finally put it in. We did our thing. But it was definitely fun, working with Tank and working with all of them. Even to this day,
Him being my chief, I learned the most from him, to be a gunner and then helping out chiefing too.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot. I mean, he also taught me you don't need the lanyard either.
Yes. Yeah, that finger popping, baby.
Oh man.
A lanyard is just there for show. And I mean, if that's only if did you ever get your hand hit when you finger popped?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What was the highest charge you fired? Finger popping.
I can't tell you. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I do remember though, when I was in Iraq, my first deployment, I was a gunner, and we shot a max charge.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, trying to think of the round. Excalibur.
Oh shit, the Excal? Y'all got the fire Excaliburs there? You sure?
Was it Excalibur?
Or was it a wrap?
It was wrap. That's what it was. It was wrap around. We had Excaliburs there because I remember looking at them and stuff. We never fired one, I don't think. It was a wrap around max charge.
Damn.
Yeah. That sucker was fun.
Just thinking about it, god damn. I love the smell of I just miss the smell of wolf pussy and just choking on it, off smoky inside of the gun. Those were good times, good times. So let's move forward a little bit. So we did that field problem where we were out there for a month, where we did like 1 or 2 weeks of field artillery. I think we did our tables. Then we put the guns away and we're told, forget everything you learned about artillery. This is your stallion now. This is the 1114, up armored Humvee. This is what you'll be in. And I think for me, that was when I was not in the Army yet, but I was watching TV. I would be like, that's what I want to be on right there. Because I remember when I first came in, I wanted to be a tanker. Then from there, I asked for cavalry scout. And both of those were denied. They threw me in the 13 series. But I remember specifically wanting to be on a Humvee up there, with a gun in my hand and just rolling. And then once we were doing it, when we got over there, I remember thinking to myself, got to be careful what you wish for, because that's exactly what we ended up doing when we went out there, right? So what were your thoughts on that? Because now you were going to be in charge of a gun truck, right? Or were you in charge? Did you have a gun truck, or who were you with?
Actually, I did have a gun truck. And right at when we got to Kuwait is when I got moved to your guys'.
Because it was me. Okay, so whose gun truck were you in?
In the deployment, I was with LT. So I didn't have my own gun truck.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
It was, but LT was in the seat. Good guy, though.
Yeah, Senator Sola. Oh, Centralosa.
Best LT anybody could ask for, man.
Yeah, he was good. He was a cool PL. I liked him. Not gonna lie, I liked him. Yeah, he got in my ass after that one incident, but we'll get there later. We'll get to that later. So
he was good. I remember whenever we did our route recons and everything, he was top notch.
Yeah, he was. I remember when we started talking about doing the platoon lanes and all that, I was like, this is how we're gonna be in Iraq, and you had only done artillery in Iraq, right? You didn't do any of the convoy shit,
right?
And I don't think anybody that we had new NCOs coming in as well that were light on the right. They had never deployed, so the ones that had deployed only artillery, and the ones didn't deploy. So we're all learning these new movements, these tacticals together, right?
Yeah.
How what was going through your mind when you found out we were going to be fucking doing security or route clearance and shit like that, and we weren't doing artillery?
I was okay with it. It was like a challenge, I guess, but it just, I guess the training just felt kind of disjointed and stuff because it was so kind of, we were like fish out of the water, type of deal, because it's not what we went through basic training, artillery, and now we're doing these missions. It's like, this is different. Do you remember when we first started that training, and did we have like little flags and stuff?
I was going to bring that up.
I was even thinking when we were doing that, like, what the heck is this for?
I was going to bring that up. Like, we had the little flags, and red means this and blue means this. Like, what?
I'm thinking, how the heck am I going to remember what flag means what if I'm getting shot at,
Oh my God. Yeah, that was the worst idea. And then, it was just crazy how, I remember just going in the Humvees all over and just being all over the place, just becoming one with the Humvee. I'm happy. This is where I got irked that, then they split the platoons to the firing platoon and then to those that are going to be out there. So it felt like, okay, so we're like the second hand, we're not good enough to be.
Yep.
So there was a bit of bitterness there.
There was a saltiness to me on that because I wanted to fire. You know, that's what we were trained for.
Yes. And you had experience already doing it. You know what I'm saying? So you would have been just, you would have fell right into that slot, you know, like perfect. But lo and behold, they had better things for us. And fuck, I remember we got there, and like I said, like for me, the exact moment that it hit me was when we loaded up, left Kuwait, and landed in Baghdad. And we got out the bird, and as we were getting out of the bird, I see the third ID soldiers getting into the bird, like in those long lines that they show, and it was just like a taxi. And it was me and Cruz, and we were just sitting there, and I just sat down and I started thinking of that song "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd. And that's the only way that I could that's the only way I could say what my feelings was. I was comfortably numb. Like, fuck, we're here. This is it. You know what I mean?
That's kind of the same feeling I had when my first deployment, we were making that road march up from south of Baghdad where we dropped off. And it's just like, this is real. Mm-hmm. You know?
And there's no way back.
Yeah.
Then me and I remember Cruz and I, OP7. We had just recently got there. We got to like mid-December, just after Christmas, right?
Yep.
And that's when we were sitting at OP7, and you know, we're just shooting the shit. And Kowalczyk came to drop us off some chow.
Yeah.
So Kowalczyk drops the chow off, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna take some pictures real quick." All right, man, go ahead and take your pictures. So we're taking your pictures, and then the sergeant that was there from 176, his name was Sergeant Revere. He was just standing there behind us because, you know, we're doing the right seat, left seat shit. Yeah. And everybody was letting off, just boom, 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 boom all over the place. And then that's when we heard one just like really, really close, like boom. And I turned to, I'm like, man, that sounded kind of I didn't even get to say close. And you just hear that shh, fucking rocket goes right in front of OP7. Crew's like, holy shit, did you see that? Did you see that? I'm like, fuck no, because Revere jumped on top of us, dropped us down to the floor. Kowalczyk turned whiter than he already was. And like, I'm out of here. Fuck this. I'm only bringing y'all food. He takes off. And me and Crew like, we're fucking combat veterans now. Yeah. You know, and that was an experience, you know. And to this date, it's one of my favorite stories because of Kowalczyk, mainly, that piece of shit fucking Jew. Oh, just talking shit, Kowalczyk. I know you're listening. But yeah, man, that was like what I thought my first experience was going to be in combat. And then just recently, then a few days later was when we got hit on January 6th. And that was an eye-opening experience. Were you on the road with that on that one?
Man. I was stuck back at the FOB because LT went out. And I think First Sergeant was tired of me. I kept going down to the OP just looking, trying to find out what was going on. I heard you guys got hit, and you know, that just tore me up because it's like my guys are out there and I'm stuck back here.
Right.
You know.
I would happen to be with Lieutenant Sansola. I was in the vehicle with him.
Okay.
And it was fucking crazy because I finally got comfortable. You know, we're in the second vehicle because they wanted me to see what the first gunner does, so I can do that when I became the gunner because I was going to be the lead gunner. So that's when we were rolling up, and their PL had just got over the mic and said, "All right, keep your eyes open. IED alley coming up." Yeah. We go over under that overpass, and then that's when we just hear it, doosh. I remember looking back, and I started yelling, "IED, IED, IED," and everything happened after that. But I remember our Lieutenant Sandersola was trying to get out. And I was trying to get out, but his shotgun, I think, kept him from unlocking it. So finally he opened the door, and then he opened my door. Then he gave me his tourniquet because the one that I had, I was putting the tourniquet on the gunner whose arm was gushing. So I started putting the tourniquet on him, and it snapped. It broke. So he ended up giving me his tourniquet to put onto that gunner. And then Sergeant Lopez was dying. The other Sergeant Lopez was trying to, you know, he was on top of him crying. And then we're yelling for the medic. Medic jumps out. Doosh. Second one goes off. I get scared shitless. You know what I mean? Like, because this is my first fucking real experience now. And that day fucked me up, but it set the tone for the rest of the deployment, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
good. It was a fucked up day.
well, I'll tell you what, you mentioned about you being in that second truck because you were watching the first truck because that's what you were do. And I mean, I can tell you stories, and I believe God's hand was upon us because putting you guys as the first truck with Juarez as the first truck, he had this intuition about him on where to turn and everything that I think it kept us safe.
Yeah.
I can actually tell. There was a time when we were going to that. Remember that oil refinery south of Baghdad, and there was a bunch of white dudes there. They were like, I don't know if they were like Russians or
Right.
they were working there and stuff. Well, on our way there, at the last minute, there was an overpass coming up, and Warren says, "No, we're going this way." We hang a right through this little village, and our antennas like tore down all their electric and stuff. I don't know if you remember this. And we came in through the backside. It was real muddy and everything.
Yeah.
Then a call came down on the radio that there was an IED blast. So we look up the map and everything. It was that overpass.
Oh shit.
It was within like a few minutes after we got there. It was that overpass because we were supposed to go under that overpass and then hang a right. Well, he hung a right before and went in. And a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, was woken up. It was like 2 a.m. here in the States.
Okay.
And he felt a burden to be praying for us. And he was praying for us. And I get back from that mission. I open up my email, and he told me, he said, "Hey, at this time, I had a heavy burden from God to be praying for your guys' safety." It was at that same time.
I tell you,
same very time that happened.
You know, I think definitely prayers were with us. There was angels' wings around us, because I think of so many times that, like, the one where I think that they could have really fucked us up was when we were going to I think we were going to the MOI, the Ministry of Interior, I think, or Ministry of Oil, one of them two. But we were going by an overpass. We were supposed to make a right. We were supposed to go under the overpass, but we made a right turn. And then we had to back up again and go under the overpass to go to, we were going to Fob Shield. I think that's what we were going to, Fob Shield.
Okay.
And then just as soon as I remember I heard like a pop, and I told Sergeant Jay, like, I heard a fucking pop. And then we kept on going. And then that's when the last vehicle passed, and finally the V-bid went off at that gas station.
That gas station. And that was like wasn't that our last mission out?
Might have been one of our last ones.
One of our last ones.
But like, I mean, because Kowalski said he felt the heat blast all in his face and all, and that was a close one. Like, literally, we were in that kill zone.
In that side view mirror, I could see the blast. I can still see it. I remember feeling it and looking and saw that fireball.
Yep. I mean, dude. And then it was crazy though, because like what I liked about Sergeant Jay was he trusted me enough and gave me the freedom of like, hey, Sergeant Jay, you might want to go this way. There's traffic over here, and somehow or another, I don't know how it was like I was Moses with the Red Sea, just parting shit out of the way.
And it was crazy because a couple times they would let me go ahead we would take the lead truck and stuff. And I tell you what, I was happy to give it back to Juarez. Because honestly, I felt like he just had it.
Yeah.
Like he had this sixth sense about him of what to do. So
that Blue Force tracker was awesome. The only thing that sucked about the Blue Force tracker was it didn't tell us where there was Jersey barriers. So we would try to make a turn somewhere, like, shit, now we got to go somewhere else to make a turn.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, good times. I think that those were some of the best times. Shit, having our little platoon meetings right before we were gonna go out. And I remember one mission that we were supposed to go out. We were supposed to go, I think, to Butler Range, and we were supposed to be going past Pluto's, or like sideways of Pluto's, which was black. and they ended up canceling that mission. And I think it turned out like some Calf Scouts found like a fucking EFP out there that was supposed to probably, it would have hit us pretty much.
Yeah.
So there was just countless times that I think that we should have been screwed and we didn't. But there was one time, I don't know if you recall this, when Weimert's truck was all asleep when we were doing the rhino runs and we had cleared up the road on Irish and we stopped for a while. And as we were getting ready to roll out, all you hear is Weimert, like, I guess his hip must have hit the fucking button, you know, the switch. And you just hear, Cruz, wake up, let's go. Did you have any moments where you fell asleep in the gun trucks?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I have there's a picture of me where I'm in the back and I still have it. Diaz took it and got it like blown up. It's me just laying back, just out.
I mean, what can we do, right?
Oh, I hated that. Just riding. That stuff just. Yeah. Do you remember that time we were out? I think it might have been a rhino run or something, and that National Guard unit was lost. We saw the chem lights laying on the road.
Yep.
And it's like, what in the world's going on? And they had dropped chem lights, like dropping breadcrumbs, and they were driving in circles. They were just lost. It was nighttime. They've been out there like all day.
Is that the same night that we ended up calling EOD because we found that fucking the box in the middle of the road? Oh God! You know what, Lieutenant Sandersola? If you ever hear this, or Captain Sandersola back then too, that was the worst thing we could ever done was call EOD because we waited for like 6 hours for them to show up just to tell us, oh no, it's a box of water. It's like, why?
Just a box of water.
Oh my God, dude! It was.
We were all ready to get back, man. I hated the Rhino run. That Rhino run. Hey, remember going to Biop? Going through the tunnels?
Yeah. Doing our little dance.
And they made us stop. Remember that? Yeah. Oh, you guys can't run sirens going through the tunnels.
We try to make things fun, you know. Yeah. I remember Sergeant Juarez would want to take the there was this I think there was this thing that has like a speed on it and we would just go on the off-road and then he would tell Moira to gun it and Moira would be like, okay, and he'd just go really fast so we could hit some air on the dirt road next to the it was just fun. I mean, there were times that, you know, we had some good times and there was some bad times, like the time that you got me smoked for no reason. Oh, yes. So there was a time we're getting ready to go on a mission, and you said something like, you better hurry up, or I'm gonna tell your chief or something like that. And I said, oh no, my chief's at Falcon. And then apparently you had misunderstood and thought that I said my chief is a Falcon. And what I was talking about was my gun chief being at Falcon. And Juarez gets told, I barely get to the gun truck, and he's like, beat your fucking face. Like, what the fuck did I? He's like, get down. I'm a fucking Falcon, huh? Push. I'm over here pushing full battle rattle, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? He's like, I heard what you said. You said I'm a Falcon. Your chief's a Falcon. Oh man, like, okay, I got you. You know, but I get it, because even though I explained to myself to him, you know, I get it now when I got into the NCO ranks that either, you know, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, you're going to have your fellow NCOs back no matter what. You know what I mean? Even if it heard wrong or not, I'm not wrong. You're wrong. You know what I mean? So, yeah, good times. That
was the thing about that unit. As NCOs, we had each other's back, man.
Yeah.
Mally, Juarez, Weimer. Yeah, we all had each other's back.
You know, even old Giggity, he was a cool NCO. Old Dufour, you know, it tripped me out because, you know, when I went to my next units, you know, it really was an eye opener to see how some of these NCOs or those that were getting their stripes, all of a sudden were just becoming more of a me thing versus a we thing, you know. So it I don't know how long you stayed in it or when you came back in, how it was, but it wasn't the same Army, which I recall as in my first unit.
Right. Yeah, we had something special there, I think.
Yeah, we did. So we ended up going on that mission, had some good times, had some bad times, ended up staying longer than I thought I was going to be there, ended up coming back. When we came back, how long did you stay in Hood before it was time to chuck deuces?
Dude, when did we come back?
I got back December 2nd, 2006. I still remember that date. So,
yeah, I was gone by January.
Oh, wow.
January. Like
you determined to leave?
Yeah, about 2 months worth. And yeah.
So that
was a hard decision, though. I went back and forth on it.
So was it your contract was already expiring and you were like, you know what, I'm done?
Do you remember that I re-enlisted before we went over?
I don't.
Okay. So I originally had a 4-year active duty contract, and it was coming up to enlist. And I don't know what the pushback was. I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in and everything. And then it came down. It's like, dude, you better do something, because if not, you won't go over with these guys, and we're going to ship you back over to 316 because we're leaving, and you're going to get stop lost anyways and go. And that was kind of a wake up call. It's like, okay, so I added another year to my enlistment for 5 years. And so I would fit in that period. So I would go with you guys, because I'm like, I'm going to go. I'm not going to go with somebody else.
Right.
In the hopes that I can get out quicker. And one thing was, my wife she was having a really hard time with me deploying a second time.
Okay.
She was really struggling with that, because, I mean, we had our first child. I mean, actually, it was the same day that Dad's wife had a child and we had a child. Oh, wow. And then a week later, we went off to the field for that 30-day field problem. And then after that, we were training back and forth for the rest of that time.
Right.
And she had a really hard time with it. And I think that was a lot of the pressure there of getting out and everything. And I mean, ultimately, when I got back, why I got out was just a little jaded. I didn't like the whole politics part of the NCO, the boards and stuff. I saw people that should not have had rank that had rank, and it's just because you say the right things and do the right, say the right things and you get promoted. It's like, really?
Right.
And I couldn't see myself being those staying in as like a first sergeant or sergeant major or something like that. I just couldn't see myself doing that.
A lot of the good old boy club, there, and I started seeing that much later on. Okay, you had those that were favored. You could obviously see them, even as privates. We knew who was favored. Like, for example, you had your Brickers, you had your Quinteros. They were heavily favored. OQ, and that trips me out. Like, I even think about it to this date. Like, when we were privates, did not get along worth shit. I mean, we worked together because we were in the same platoon, but we could not get along for anything. And then, when he did what he did and he lost his life, that one hurt me. Like, I mean, because he reached out to me like a couple of months prior regarding getting out. And I called him back and he said, I can't talk right now, but I'll get back to you. And, I wish I would have called him back afterwards to catch up, and but tomorrow never comes sometimes, and he ended up doing what he did, and that would still hurt. So it was crazy. It was crazy. He was the first one, I think, from our platoon that had gone out that way. And then right afterwards was Johnson.
Oh yeah.
And then just it seems like they're just stacking up now. It's like, what the hell's going on?
And then with Cruz, how that happened was just it was heart-wrenching, man.
To date, it kills me, that through this platform here, I've been able to reconnect with a lot of us from the old 277 days. And, Cruz was like, oh, okay, when are you going to have me on? I saw you had Hodgson on. You're not going to have me on?
Yeah.
I got you. Come on. And then when I got him on here, we caught back up. And it's like we caught up from where we left off immediately.
Right.
You know, it's just like any other military. Like right now, like I feel like I haven't talked to you since 2007. You know, man. And but yet here we are picking up like no time has passed. You know. But and it was the same with Cruz, and so we started texting every day. So me, him, and Kowalczyk, we had a group text where we're texting every day, you know. So everything was like peas and fucking carrots again. Like, oh man, we're getting back into our routine. And then Cruz said, "Hey man, let me co-host with you," because he loved coming onto the podcast. He loved doing it. Like, yeah, man, for sure. Because me and him had a great dynamic. We always had great flow, and the shit talking was just perfect, you know. So you know, that day his birthday came up, and you know, he had his birthday, and I reached out to him, happy birthday. Everybody tells him happy birthday and whatnot. And then the next day was my birthday, because that's how I remember his birthday. His birthday, and then the next day was my birthday.
Okay.
So we're talking shit back and forth to each other that morning, and we're supposed to do the podcast that night because we do it on Tuesdays. Anyways, so we were supposed to do it later on that night, but he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna be running a little bit late today, so if you have to, just start without me and I'll catch up." I'm like, "Okay, you know, whatever." So he hadn't shown up yet. He hadn't shown up, and I kept reaching out like, "Hey man, are you gonna make it? Are you gonna make it?" And I didn't get no text back. So I'm like, okay, he must really be busy, you know, his recruiter. So I'm thinking like he's doing his recruiting thing, right? So I reach out to Hunt, and I'm like, "Hey Hunt, you want to join me on the podcast, man? Be my co-host." Cruz flaked out on me, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I got you." So he comes on, and we're shooting it up back and forth, and then I was like, "Yeah, motherfucking Cruz, man." I had to take that podcast down. I didn't release it because at the end, me and Hunt are like, "And you know what? Goes to show you I can't count on Cruz with the shit, little motherfucker. He couldn't even come onto the podcast today. Was supposed to be on here tonight, and blah blah blah." And so Hunt's like, "Yeah, man, fuck Cruz," and we're like, "Yeah, fuck Cruz." And then, you know, like, all right, you know, and we close it up. As soon as I close up the podcast and wrap it up, I'm starting to format everything, getting ready to download and put it on. I get a text message on Facebook.
Yeah.
And on the Facebook, it says, "Hey, this is Doll. You know, I'm just letting you know that Cruz, you know, was found unresponsive in the gym, and they rushed him to the hospital. They found him with a blood clot or something like that, the size of a moon pie." And I can still remember the moon pie because I remember I read it as Doll would say it, moon pie. You know what I mean? And so you know, everybody thought, okay, it's Cruz though. He'll pull through. You know what I mean? And and then just like that, you know, it started going downhill and downhill and downhill, and it was like,
yeah.
And to this date, I don't think I've accepted it yet, because when we went to the funeral, we didn't see a body. It was an urn. You know, he was cremated, right? So it's not getting that finality, that closure, you know. So I still think about it. Like, I still think of my boy Cruz, and I know he affected a lot of people in a different way, you know. So speaking of him, like, what are some highlights you remember of old Cruz?
One specific memory is us walking out of 277 barracks, walking down to the parking lot after formation. And he got enough nerve to say, "Sergeant Landis, why are you always so hard on me and not on Diaz or anybody else?" And I looked at him and says, "Because you have potential to be great." Not saying the other guys can't, but I saw something in Cruz. And I said, "That's why I'm so hard on you." And he was.
Yep.
Good guy, man.
And I know I did a Facebook broadcast after he had gone, and I had I put out my number, you know, for folks to call in, and you know, we were just talking about Cruz and like the impact that he had, and not one, I can't remember one negative thing about Cruz. Like, even when he would get angry, I can't think of it, because yeah, you know, I
he
just
could be mad at you and smiling right at your face.
Yeah, very true. You know, and it was funny. Like, I remember there was a whole conversation when we were in Baghdad that you guys had took him aside, you and Juarez, and told him, "Hey, they're thinking about pitting Corporal on you, so you're gonna have to stop hanging out with Kowalczyk and them and Lopez, because
I remember that now.
Yeah, and
I forgot all about that.
I gave him a lot of shit. I'm like, oh, all right, yeah, Mr. Shit don't stink. All right, go sit down with your homies. Go over there. You know, and he started walking around with you.
I remember just standing nearby and listening to you guys, just giving him a hard time and everything.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I miss that little fucker, man. Like I said,
For his family, because when I was deployed, that was who kept my wife going, was Doll and the kids. They hung out every day. See, Beth moved back to Ohio. We sold her house, moved back to Ohio. I think she might have been here a couple months and says, I can't do that. I'm not living under the same house as my mom. You know, I got to go back where people understand what I'm going through. And she went back there, and it was Doll and Mercer's wife and Beth were inseparable.
Yeah.
They did everything together. So I was real grateful for his wife being there for my wife.
You know,
and I always remember that being a little weird for him, because you know he's the soldier, I'm the NCO, and our wives are hanging out together, and you know we're sharing the same stories they're telling back and forth and everything like that.
Fucking Cruz. Yeah. We always gave him shit though. I mean, I loved it. Like, one of my favorite stories that I've always told about Cruz was the day that it's a little bit on the graphic side, but this is while we were out in Baghdad, and we were sharing the same room. It was me, Cruz, Diaz, and Olguin, and we were each doing our dizzle, as Maui like to say. And he's like, "Hey Lopez, let me borrow some of your lotion." And I'm like, "All right, no problem." So, you know, I wasn't looking. I was too busy looking at my computer screen, and I grabbed the bottle of lotion and I handed it through the poncho, and he grabbed it from him, and he handled his business, you know. Lo and behold, the next day, he thought his chorizo was falling off and dying because I happened to give him body soap. So it had all crusted over on him.
Well, that's the first time I heard this one.
Oh my god! Oh, that shit was classic. It was awesome. Like, my dick is full. Well, after we found out it was the body soap that I given him, it was a good day. Good day.
Oh,
You know?
man.
But he was definitely a great friend, a great soldier, and Kowalczyk said that he brought the best out of him because Cruz like would be the standard, and you know, so he would try to exceed Cruz, and if Cruz exceeded him, they were always going back to back.
Well,
You know,
they were fun to watch. As an NCO, the two of them
yeah.
competing, they were fun to watch.
Oh God, especially when you have a super soldier like Freeman.
Oh man, yes.
Freeman is a very well-known person on the gun line, especially when Kowalczyk was my co-host. We definitely told stories about him and the free bots. So, dude,
I seriously thought that dude was someday going to like snipe us all or something and kill us.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Thank God he got out.
Especially after I think he showed up later. No, he left his weapon during a field problem, and I duct taped his weapon. Yeah, I duct taped his hands to his weapon, and he had to walk around the gun for like I don't know how many hours.
Oh shit! You know that's called hazing nowadays, right?
What?
Right? Yeah. I think that doesn't fall in line with the new army and the way they do things. It's corporate now.
I'm sure I probably wouldn't do too well in the new army.
Yeah, I would be considered a toxic leader. But did you have so you know one thing that goes unsaid is how our spouses actually have to deal with a lot of shit while we're gone, you know, and it's great that you know that she was able to stay with you during that time, you know, because it's hard. It's definitely hard, especially, but like you said, at least she had somebody to lean on, which definitely must have helped out. Now, with that being said, once you got out, because you ended up ETSing, right?
Yeah.
So you ETSed, and did you have any difficulties adjusting to back to the civilian world, or finding someone to lean on yourself that could speak your language of veteran versus civilian? or anything of that sort?
I was a little bit of a fish out of water for a while. I mean, yeah, it was a little harder because people didn't know what you went through, and life was different. You see, when you're in, you got more of there's a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that just working a job sometimes doesn't fulfill that purpose. So yeah, I struggled a little bit, not too much, but really my wife struggled more. She wanted me to go back in the Army. She wanted me in the worst way to go back. That was, and I don't blame her because that's how we got married. We started our life. She moved before I even got back to Hood from Iraq. She already moved down to Hood, got a place set up and everything, and we started our life together, not around family or anything. So it's kind of, we started off our own, and that's all she knew for her adult life was Army. And it took a while, over 5 years or so. And then it switched. Then I kept thinking, man, I won't go back.
Yeah.
And she was at the point like, no, not now. Yeah, now we got 5 kids, and I couldn't imagine doing that. So
You said 5?
yeah, I got 5.
Wow! Congratulations.
My oldest, who was Haley, who was a little baby during the deployment, she'll be 17 here in April.
Wow!
I got a 14-year-old girl, Sarah, and then Josiah's 12, Jacob's 8, and Jackson is 6.
I'm guessing there's no TVs out there in that dairy field in Ohio. Hey, that's what's up, man. Little Landis is all over the place, Yeah. So that's awesome, man. That is awesome. I know that I remember when you got out, I remember you were doing you did something biblical. You were doing something with the Bible. I think it was like something where you translated. Cause I remember I had signed up for the charity, and I was donating to it because I thought it was awesome. And you went to Africa, I believe, right?
Yeah. So what happened was I did the recruiting thing for 18 months as a recruiter because my goal was to go back into the Army as a warrant officer for flight school.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. And then I got the flight physical and everything, and I was doing an annual training somewhere, and we were going over some obscure things in the regulations and stuff, and went across this one where it says a reservist that's on active duty cannot apply for another active duty position. And I looked at my first sergeant and I said, does this apply for me? He's like, man, I think it does, because I was applying for active duty flight school.
Right.
And he knew the sergeant major that ran that board, and tried to pull some strings and wouldn't work. And I was like, well, I can't get out because I need a job. I have a family. At that time, we had 2 kids and 1 on the way. And I was like, I can't just get out and find a job where I'm going to have time to go to these boards and redo the physical and everything. And about that same time, my in-laws were working with Wycliffe Associates, which is a missionary group that helps Wycliffe Bible translators, and they go all throughout the world translating the Bible in people's native tongues. And I was going to be I think it was a site volunteer coordinator, and that was to just get short-term and long-term people connected in those areas to help the translators. Okay. So I was like a coordinator for that. And we went over to Nigeria is where we were going to work, Jos, Nigeria. And like it is today, there was a lot of violence going on there. There was with some of the Muslim groups against the Christian groups. Some was religious, but a lot of it was tribal. Right. But there was killings and kidnappings and stuff like that. And within a couple weeks there, my wife got like severe like panic attacks and anxiety. And it was an answer from the Lord that we needed to go home. We actually met with some counselors that happened to be there because there had just been, before we got there, a fire where a lot of people died and everything.
Oh, wow.
And they said, yeah, you need to go home or get on medication or something. And she's like, no, I'm not going to get on medication. So it exposed some anxieties and stuff, and so we headed home after that.
Wow.
But
So it was both of y'all that ended up going then, huh?
what's that? Yeah, it was our
Both
whole
of you
family.
went. What about the children? Did they go with, or did they stay in the
They
States?
came too. Yeah, they came. They came too.
Oh,
It was
wow.
supposed to be a 2-year deal and everything.
Wow. I mean, I just thought that that was like a great thing that you were doing, like, spreading the word out. I'm not the most religious person, I have my views and my feelings on things, but, you know, I believe anything that's doing something positive for someone, I'm all about that. So I thought that was great, and then, yeah, definitely, if you don't need another sign from God other than the
Yeah,
wife getting ill.
yeah, it was. Yeah, she was having a hard time, and there was even scripture that says, you should care for your wife and treat her in an understanding way, or your prayers will be hindered. That was one of the verses that came up. It says the wife is the weaker vessel, and that doesn't mean as weaker as in like we're greater than
Right.
women. The fact that they're created different than us, and we have to live with them in an understanding way.
Yep.
And if we don't, our prayers are hindered, meaning God's not going to listen to us. And I felt like that was one of the scripture at that time that said, yeah, I need to go home. I need to, first and foremost, I need to take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can't take care of her, how am I going to help others?
Right. You're
When
gonna be
I'm
more focused on her than the mission that you're at hand.
exactly. So
Damn. That's just it's crazy how life happens like that, and so you ended up coming back to the States again, and what was your transition from there? What did you start doing then?
my transition from there was like, what now?
Right.
you know, uh, I worked for my dad for a little bit till I got a job, and I was like, you know what? That new GI Bill, the post 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
pays the housing stipend. I said, I'm gonna go to school and get paid for it. So I treat school like a job. I end up getting my degree in, uh, it's my BS in religion.
Oh, nice.
It's a biblical studies degree through Liberty University. And it was really cool because that was all online,
Yeah.
but I still had to go through a brick and mortar school. So I went to Ohio State just for some of the common classes like your history and your
Okay.
English and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Liberty was great because they took all those as transfers, and they took a crap load of military experience as credits.
Oh, yes.
I had like, I'm thinking almost 2 semesters worth of classes taken care of just through my artillery and my recruiting training.
Okay. Oh yeah, the
So,
recruiting training definitely had to go in there and get you
oh yeah, I had a
some
sales
credits.
class in that one.
I
So
bet you.
funny because when you go through recruiting training, they hype you up as you're a career counselor. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're this career counselor. You're here for these young men and women and to help them decide their career and everything. And I get out. Actually, no, I'm not out at the time. It's I'm a recruiter, and we moved back to Ohio and everything, and start going to this church. And a couple of the guys I got to be friends with, one was a car salesman, and he's going through all this stuff like these sales tactics. I was like, dude, I learned that in recruiting school. It is sales. They sugarcoated it. You know how the Army does. They
Yeah, sir.
take something and they sugarcoat it as we're these career counselors, and we were just salesmen.
Yeah. I mean, how many sales did you end up making? How many people did you bring in? And did you bring any to be 13 Bravos or Deltas?
Did I bring any 13 problems? Yes, there was at least 2 that went 13. But see, right when I came in, I was lucky. I didn't have to have my own quota. They went to the team concept.
Okay.
So we had a team, and some of us would do interviews, some of us do, just regular recruiting. Others would do the packets.
Oh, okay.
Whoever was good at whatever. Like some were really good at closing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I wasn't a hard closer. I just told them as it was. I told most of them, I said, I'll give you the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Decision. I'm not going to be the guy that makes it sound like it's all great. There's parts of it that suck.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I think a lot of people would prefer that. You know, if they were told what sucks is the Army always shows the dog and pony show part. They don't show what leads up to it. You know, yeah, everything looks beautiful, dress right, dress, doesn't it? But they don't show you the 5 hours ahead of time that you had to put everything laid out and how many changes you had to make to get it to look that pretty. Oh God, I don't miss that. I don't miss that at all. I mean, there are things I do miss, but you know, I got a question for you. And I got this from this other podcast that I listened to. It's called the Average GI Joe podcast. He's a sailor that does kind of like this, but in a sailor point of view way, right? And a really cool person. He's been on the podcast a few times. His name is Adam. But he does this thing where it's like the senses or the sensory type shit.
Okay.
So it's using your 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing. Which is the other one? Sight, smell, hearing, touching. There you go. Using those, let's talk about our time in the military, or our time on the gun line. So if you were to close your eyes and open them, and I say, what's the first thing you see that reminds you of being in the military or the Army times or the gun line? What is one thing that comes back visually in your mind?
For some reason, Iraq.
Anything specific?
Close my eyes. I'll give you some of the sensories here. The bright sun, the smells of being on a road, the petrol, the gasoline smell, the smell.
Yes.
Baghdad and all the noises, the sirens, the horns.
Damn.
When I think, that's what I think. It's not necessarily, dress right, the greens and everything like that. It's what we did.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, for me, like when I think of it, it's more along the the first thing I remember would be stand to is what I come to right now in my mind. Doing stand to out in the field next to the guns, wondering why the fuck am I taking a knee here with an M16, waiting for no one to come through the woods. That's the first thing that comes to my sight. So now let's take it to the smells. So is it all just? It reminds you everything is just is back from Iraq. Did you just hit all of them at once?
Smell would be that petrol smell when we were in Iraq. There's days where even on the farm and stuff, it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I might be around the diesel tanks or something, filling a tractor up, and I get that smell, and it just automatically brings me back there. But the smell of wolf pussy.
Of course. That's true.
But that's a smell you don't smell. You don't get it unless you're doing it. Unless you're firing.
I could see a picture of it, and I could tell you what that smells. I could smell that picture.
I can still smell it, but I've never smelled it since.
Right, in real life. Yeah. I got you. All right. So that's sight. Then there's the one that I brought up was the canisters, the powder canisters. Like when you would open them, they had like this weird smell, like when it would just go, and then the smell of the powder. I just remember that. And so how about for sounds? Like, what's one sound that was like uniquely gunline or uniquely Army or something you just that when you think about your time, what sound comes to mind?
Sound. Couple come to mind would be firing the howitzer.
Oh yeah.
That's a typical one. The clank of the tracks while you're driving. I hear that every now and then because we got a little small dozer on the farm. So
nice.
Running those tracks. I was a driver at one time, and remember when we were in first deployment, I was with tank, and there was 3 of us guns that were over at Bakuba Warhorse for a time, and we would do drag races down the runway.
That's the fuck I'm talking about.
Those things were turds anyways, but it was fun though, you know.
See, that's the type of experiences that a lot of people don't, that we think about and remember, but really don't talk about because, well, those are yours personal ones. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking badass. Like, I know there was this one dude when I went to Fort Stewart. There was video of these guys. They were pretty much almost like water skiing, but on dirt. They were being pulled by a gator, and I can't remember exactly what they were sledding on, but holding on to it, just going in circles. You know, it's just how you pass time, I guess.
Well, we'll talk about tracks, and we were drag racing down the runway, and got night too in blackout.
Damn.
Next to one another. Well, then we were over at Mukadaya, and coming down a hill, Tank told me, he said, "Hey, you think you can slide it sideways?" I can. Slid it sideways, and the result, you know, some rounds weren't really locked down in the back, so
Oh shit!
rounds rolling around and all kinds of stuff getting torn up.
Oh my god! God, he was an awesome chief, man. God damn! I'm telling you, I think a lot of what made him also was that he was light artillery because he came from Alaska.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, knowing light artillery, you know, artillery. You come to the Cadillac and it ain't shit. You know, I'll show you how it's really done. You know,
And it was done in Alaska too.
yeah. One thing I saw was that the artillerymen are artillerymen. We have our pride, and we're very, you know, we're just very proud people. We're a different breed, but going from mechanized to light, it's a whole different breed of artilleryman. Like, I'm telling you, I was humbled very quickly when I went to light because I thought I knew it all. I didn't know shit, and you know, but I learned it. And it wasn't as diverse in the light world either. If you catch my drift, you know, because in mechanized, it was very diverse. You know, our smokes, our chiefs, the majority were of you know, diverse.
Yeah.
Not in light. In light, it was might as well be white, you know, because yeah, I mean, light world, it's, I don't know if they do it in that way for some reason or not, but it's kind of suspect now that I think about it.
At least what you experienced, it was that way, right?
Yeah, at least, I'm sorry, in my experience before I get canceled.
Bringing up a good point on the diverse thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is, you know how our country's been the last few years. I believe we're more divisive than we've ever been.
Yep.
And me and my dad will sit around because that's who I work with.
Right.
All on the farm, and we'll talk about stuff that's going on in the world, and this thing about, you know, racism and everything. And he went off to college and played football, and he talked about they were all on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
I said, when I was in the Army, it was the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, of course I can see you're black, or I can see you're Hispanic, or I can see you're white. I'm not colorblind,
right?
But we know each other as soldiers. Were there some douchebags out there? Yeah, you're gonna have you've experienced some. You know, they're out there, but generally, people didn't care.
Nope. I mean, there's assholes in every race anyway. You know, you had Wilson, who was white. You know, you had fucking Stevenson, who was black. It like this. And then, you know, can't really think of any Hispanic assholes that we knew, but you know, we're just cool.
Man.
But I mean, what I loved about that was you know, I was exposed to a lot of different things in the military. I had not known about country music. I mean, I knew about country music, but I didn't know country music, you know, until I started really listening to it in the military. You know, Kowalczyk exposed me to different music as well. So it's just a whole different fucking lifestyle there.
Yeah, I grew up in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's all white here, you know. I came to it was totally different. But, you know, I had friends that, I mean, my best friend out basic, LaJoy, you didn't meet he ETS before you got there.
Mm.
We had another white dude, but we had nothing in common other than the fact we showed up in basic training a couple of days in the same platoon.
Right.
He was from Jersey. We didn't like the same sports, the same music, nothing. And it just kind of like we hit off as, I mean, best friends like day one.
Yeah.
And, it didn't matter. We had that commonality. We all had in the Army, we all had that commonality. We've been through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Basic training, we had that commonality. We're all deployed together. We're all in the field together. We had that commonality that, it kind of puts everybody on that even playing field, I think.
True. Very true. Dude, continuing with the sensory, because damn, I lost track of that one. How about taste? What comes to mind when you think about taste?
Taste.
Oh, while you think of that, I'll do my sound. What I remember on the sounds was the doo-doo, doo-doo.
Oh, yeah.
From the headphones.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So what was your food now? What was your taste?
Taste, hot sauce. I never had hot sauce in like anything growing up. It just wasn't part of our family. Nobody in my family liked anything that's Hispanic or Mexican food or anything like that. So there was never hot sauce. In the Army, there was always hot sauce everywhere.
Yeah, it was.
MREs, Texas Pete, Tabasco.
Yep.
And I remember just eating crappy chow and just putting hot sauce on everything to kill the taste. It's like, okay.
To give it flavor at least. Yeah. I mean, hot sauce will make any MRE taste better, I guess,
I guess that's why it's in there.
That's true. I didn't think about that because I know I ended up using a lot of the hot sauces for MRE bombs to make gas bombs out of them. God, more days. I don't know if I could do that nowadays. So yeah, hot sauce, a good call out. Good call out. Let's see, what's another one? Did we hit him all already? Sight, sound,
hit
touch. All right, let's go with touch. Last one. What do you think of when you think touch or feel? What do you feel?
Shine boots. The glossiness of boots. Because we had to shine boots before the ACUs came.
Garbage.
And I just remember getting those things perfectly smooth where you could squeak your finger across them. They were just so smooth.
Damn. See, I do recall those times.
And then had basic training, right?
Yeah. We still had BDUs when I got there. I missed the BDUs.
That's when we made the change then.
Yeah, right before we deployed was when they brought in that stupid ACU. And then we looked like a bunch of retards with ACUs and black boots. Then they gave us
and they didn't even know where to put the patches and everything.
It was so retarded. I mean, I remember when we got to Baghdad. So we were wearing a ACU vest with the spider webbing, and then had all the pouches that were BDU or they were camo. Or they were or BDU or DCU. You know what I mean? And then it was like 3 different uniforms in one. I had the DAPs that were DCU. So I just looked discombobulated.
I remember seeing you wear the DCU ones. Oh yeah.
We looked discombobulated as hell. God damn, we look retarded. Good old Army though. Yeah. Fuck it, dude. Those were some good times though. I remember during one of our missions that we had the Sec C guys come with us, and they were saying that I was too aggressive, that I sound like I'm gonna have a heart attack up there or whatnot, that I need to calm down. And then they got mad at me because I made one of the Hajis move what I thought could have been an EFP. And so I told Sergeant J to stop the vehicle. And I don't know why this story just popped into my head right now, but it just did. And I told Sergeant J, I can't tell because I'm looking through the past 13 and I can't tell if it's fucking if it's a EFP or not. So I go to the Haji, you go over, pick it up, and throw it away. And he was hesitating. I kept telling him go, and I was yelling at him. He finally moved it. Then I felt clear that we can drive by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, apparently that was incorrect to do because it could have blasted him if it was an IED. It would have hurt him. That's the fucking point. I'd rather him than me. You know what I mean? So that's why I like smoke Norwood. After I had that incident where I fired at the car, and I had to go and see the major, and they were like, "Well, him done good. Him done good."
Good.
Oh my god, good fucking time, man. So how did you end up just you ended up coming back? Oh, did we do all of them already now? Oh, I didn't do my feel. You know what I thought about right now when we were talking about feeling?
Yeah.
The sandbags in July, and then the wind picking up the sand and hitting my face.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like. It's kind of like for those that never experienced a fucking Baghdad summer or Iraq summer, think Thanksgiving, and then you open the oven up to check the turkey, and when you feel that heat blast on your face,
that's a good way to explain it.
that's Baghdad heat. Yeah. And then just sprinkle some sand on it to hit your face. Yeah. That's exactly what came to mind right now, man. So, so you came back, you got your degree, and how'd you end up back on the farm, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh man, that's just how God works. I was working, actually, I needed a job, and I got a job at State Farm. I was a claim rep. So I was in the seat with the headset on. You know where I'm coming from, yeah. And I'll tell you the truth. At first, it was okay because the people I worked with were cool. It was a cool job. I got to, talking to people on the phone, helping them out during times of need and stuff. I know it's insurance, but still, it was pretty cool. And then they changed everything. They had all these crazy metrics that came down we had to go by, and I just went nuts.
So wait,
couldn't handle it anymore.
Were you taking the FNOLs or were you a claim adjuster?
I was a claims adjuster.
Okay, see, I was taking the first notice. I was taking the first notice of loss. So I would do the data entry for the claim and then submit it to the claims adjuster. Okay. So were you doing auto or property?
I was property.
Okay. Oof. That's tough, baby. That's tough. Yeah. But yeah, I completely understand what you're talking about with the metrics. They start talking about HT, ACW. You got to make sure you have a handle time low, like.
Oh, yeah. We had phone calls and voicemails and all these things that we had to keep certain levels on. I was really good at quality, they said, but getting the stuff through quick enough, that wasn't me. And I was looking for a change. And that would have been shortly after Q.
Okay.
And I was thinking, man, maybe I'll go into counseling. And I ended up going for my master's to become a licensed counselor.
Nice.
And I did that for about 6 months. I found out, probably not where I want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, it just was. I didn't feel. There was a lot of things like with my faith, even though I was going to a Christian college, and to be a licensed counselor to work with anybody, a lot of times they say you got to take your faith and compartmentalize it and put it over here and help them with these techniques and stuff. And for me personally, I can't do that.
Right.
My faith is who I am, and that's where I find true hope and true help is through my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit. I can't help somebody without that personally. Right. And I just felt like it wasn't a good fit for me at the time. And I was working 2 part-time jobs. I started working for my dad, and I was working for a nonprofit, Easter Seals. Actually, it was called Ohio Agribility, where I helped farmers that had disabilities, like guys that got their arms taken off or legs, and we were helping them find equipment so they could keep working.
Okay.
It was a pretty cool job, but it was a job that ran off of a grant, and they're still around. But 3 years ago, I made the change and started working for my dad full time. So it's me and dad on the farm and my boys, and it's like. So my dad had an accident about 3
years. I can ask about that. Yeah, how's his hand doing?
I just saw it for the first time unwrapped. So he's got his little stubby pinky now. But it's by the grace of God it didn't take his hand off, because it was a 5 horsepower electric motor that was running over 2,000 RPMs. We don't know why it actually stalled, and the pressure switch for it overheated.
Oh, okay.
If it wouldn't have overheated, it would have ground right through his arm, and he would have lost his hand.
Wow.
So he's always done the milkings and stuff. So I'm doing that now. So I'm getting up at 4:30 in the or 4 in the morning and getting home around 7.
Now, when you say milkings, we're not talking about the old school way with a bucket in your hand on their teats. We're talking about with pumps, right?
I do 90 of them that way. No, I'm kidding.
I'm about to say, man, you must have a good grip.
No, we have automatic milkers.
Right on. That's awesome, man. I mean, it's cool. I mean, one thing I found that by doing this, it's been a lot, very, very therapeutic for me. I've been open about my shit, and about my therapies or whatnot. And this is one of the ways that I actually, it's like I call it counseling or therapy without the therapist. You know what I mean? Because it's like, get to relive and have good times with those that I served with, and those that listen to this could hear us and remember those times as well. Because it just takes you back to those days. And I find also that I've been going through group therapy the past couple of weeks, and it's honestly, I find more joy in helping people, like through their stuff, but I'm not good at taking my own advice. You know what I mean? I can give them to like, pump them up, hype them up, tell them what they're doing great. But for some reason, I can't take that advice. I can't, I'm easy to give it to, but not easy to take it. So I love doing that. I love helping people. I love how you were helping those with disabilities. That's awesome. If I ever get to retire, that's something that I want to look into. Like, not just through the USO, to help out veterans, but just helping out the elderly. Just go out there cleaning up their yard.
Dude, that's a thing that I think lacks in our country now, is like respect and honor for the elderly. They were young once. They've paid their dues. They should be respected at the end of their life. I just feel like they don't get the respect like they should.
I agree 100%. There's been some disconnect. There's a gap where we went from obeying, honoring our grandparents to now just fucking treating them like they're our homies or our friends. Maybe it's because of the age, that the children were raised up. The grandparents are pretty much what the parents' age should be. You know what I mean? So they want to be as cool as the young kids are on TikTok. I guess. I don't know. I mean, but I agree with you. I mean, I go out here and I pressure wash my sidewalk, and my next door neighbor, they're a bit on the elderly side, and they're very nice to me and everything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do their sidewalk too. Why am I gonna just do mine? So, and I did theirs as well. And I don't expect a thank you or anything from them, because they're just nice people. It's just what you do.
There's something very therapeutic in helping others. Yes, especially when you do it in a manner that you're not trying to receive accolades or honor of some sort for doing it. Attention. Man, it just feels good.
It does. It really, really does. Man, I swear to God, this has been a great conversation, because I just realized we've been talking for over 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I know that I'm sure you have things you got to do up around the farm. I got 3 kids and a wife that are about to beat my ass right now for not paying attention to them for the past couple of hours.
Well, tell them thank you. I've enjoyed this. This has been really good for me too, man.
I appreciate you being on here. And I know there's going to be a lot of folks from our unit that are going to be like, oh, wow, old Chuck Landis. It's been great seeing you again, Sergeant Landis. I really appreciate you, Juarez, Sergeant Maui, Weimert, when I was a private, and y'all know when I got my ass in trouble out there for drinking. And, what's the trip is I'm happy that the NCO stood up for me and, give me that opportunity to redeem myself. You know what I mean? And I fucked up hard that one time, but I made up for it, you know, and all I can thank is you guys, because y'all showed the example of what a real NCO should have been like. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, but you owned it. You owned your mistake. You know.
Yes, sir.
You
And I never
made-
snitched. I never snitched on anybody until afterwards. Now, you know, I let everybody know, like, okay, it was Roberson who gave me the fucking moonshine, and it was Moya who was drinking with me, and McConnell. We were all shit faced, but I'm the one that threw up. But I had my reasons. My homeboy had just gotten killed a few months earlier, man. I needed some drinks. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's another story for another day. I appreciate you, though.
But hey, I appreciate you too.
Thanks a lot, C Landis. Before we roll out, man, anybody you want to say hello to, or you know what, any advice you would give any of the youth in the military now that are getting ready, or anybody that's transitioning out, any words of guidance that you could give them?
Any words of guidance? Now people might look down on me for this or not, but you know where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is look to Christ. Because this world is so full of pain and suffering. There's so many evils in this world. There's so much. We all suffer in different things and stuff. Where you're going to find true hope is in Christ. And it doesn't matter if you're transitioning from the military, if you got PTSD, whatever it is. The true healing and hope is through Jesus Christ.
Amen.
I just say, look to God's word and you'll find the way.
And you know what? This man's prayers kept us alive on those missions. There's not one mission that we went on where he didn't pray. There was once that almost didn't happen because the chaplain came and prayed, and then smoke kicked him out. He's like, "So Landis, do your prayer."
I think that's the first time ever the chaplain's been kicked out of a prayer meeting. So.
Oh man, you know what? Speaking about smoke, Norwood, and the prayer, do you remember when we were doing QRF? And we would start doing our prayers, and then he wanted us to start humming. Mm-hmm,
oh yeah.
Like, what the fuck is up with him? Oh, good old Smoke Norwood. Billy Ray Norwood. Hope to hear you one day. All right, thanks a lot again, C Landis. You have yourself a good one, and don't disconnect just yet. I'm just gonna go ahead and close this up real fast. All right. With that said, Gunline, I hope y'all appreciated this. It's been a great time with y'all, and I'll catch y'all on the Gunline next time. Rounds complete and the mission. Gunline out.